Hi, this is Prasant. Just want to make this video for you about really what all the Enlightenment teachings, self-realization teachings, pointers, all the paths that you find that are there to lead you to yourself, to help you awaken or realize the self. Basically have greater freedom, permanent lasting freedom and peace. What are all of these teachings for, and why are there so many different ones? And, what are you supposed to really get out of all of them? And what I want to highlight in this video is that there's really one essential thing that all of the different pointers and teachings are really doing, if you look carefully at what they all are and what they're all pointing to, which is your very own self, basically, the experience of being what you are, which we all already are. And we're only taken away from that, or appear to be taken away from that, by following some sort of identification with our experience in a limited manner. So each and every pointer or teaching, no matter what it's trying to say or what it's telling you to do, because they all tell you to do different things, you might get confused. Some things tell you, be still. Some pointers say, take action, don't sit quietly. A lot of the teachings are really, they seem to be in opposition with each other if you're looking at it through the perspective of the limited mind. But from the perspective of reality, which we really are, from the perspective of the self that's infinite and unlimited, which is the source of all of these. So what you find is that all of these teachings are doing something very, very specific. And if you can catch that, then anything that you come across will benefit you. You'll no longer have the confusion of who do I follow, what paths do I follow, which guru do I follow, am I doing this right, am I doing that right? That will not trouble you anymore. So it's very simple. Each and everything is really just pointing you, the you that you think you are, which I will refer to as the mind. It's pointing that mind away from the phenomena that it's creating and getting caught up in, turning it back and letting it taste itself. First, it's going to still the mind for a second, because it's going to be surprised by the teaching, or the whatever it might be. The teaching can come in the form of just silence, or a feeling of energy from something, or presence, whatever it might be. Or it could be something you read, or somebody tells you something. But it's going to do something to the mind. It's going to surprise it, or it might relax it. It's going to do something to it to take it out of its current state of confusion or identification. For example, in the Zen tradition, they have koans, or like riddles, which sort of stun the mind because the mind doesn't have an answer for them. And when the mind doesn't have an answer, what does it do? It doesn't know what to do because it can't find any answer, so it just stunned, it returns to its source, which is silence. When you perform self-inquiry, which is the path of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, and ask, who am I? Or inquire who is having the experience, or to whom do these thoughts come? And then what does that do? That actually stops the mind. It turns the mind back into ask, what's my source? And then you rest in your source. Right? So many, many, many different things. When you do a mantra, when someone says you should stop thinking and do the mantra, the moment you do the mantra, what happens? The mind becomes calm and becomes one-pointed, and then you can rest in the source. Of course, that's more of a method than a pointer. So the pointers and the things which teachings that express realization or enlightenment in all their diversity, as you can see, there's so many different teachings and paths. They all are just pointing you back to still the mind and then go back into your source. And look right now for a moment and see if you can recognize that all of the pointers you've come across, all the guidance that you've ever come across is essentially to stop the mind. Ideally, stop the mind in its tracks completely, just like that. And then send it back to its source, which is here, ever present, but just not being enjoyed by the mind. The mind's not resting there due to the identification. So you can take a second and just actually go through all the things that really resonated with you throughout your journey until now and see what actually happened when you had an experience or you came across a teaching that really was valuable to you. What did it do to you? It's likely that there was some kind of an opening, some kind of a clarity that came in, either at that moment or maybe later when you were contemplating on it. So that's really the point. So knowing this now, no matter what you come across, you'll no longer be approaching it. Ideally, you would no longer be approaching it mentally, but really in a more of a feeling kind of a way. You know, just letting that pointer come into your field of awareness and understanding that your mind is not going to be able to really latch onto that. Latching onto it through the thinking and through trying to figure it out will not really work, and it's only going to create more concepts and more confusion. So speaking of concepts, really a lot of the pointers are there to break down some kind of a concept you have. So even if you're talking to somebody who's guiding you, they might say something to you differently than other people. And that's because the concepts that are there within you that you've been nurturing and holding on to and that are also limiting you need to be broken down and discarded. So the teachings that you're going to receive, which are not really teaching, it's just, something to give you a nudge to break down the concepts that you're holding on to about what you are, what you are and what you think you are. Or it could be due to, various past experiences that are just bothering you, or future worries, whatever it might be. So that's essentially what it's all about. And taking this a little bit further, if you understand this, why not just rest right now in that space, in that silence that you already are? There doesn't need to be any further delay, because anything that you're going to come across from now to next month, next year, next 100 years, next 1,000 years, next lifetimes, whatever you think it may come, is only going to turn you away from thoughts or concepts that you have had in the past that are limiting you in some way. It's going to turn you away from belief in those, and it's going to send you into your own beingness, your own presence, your own silence, whatever you want to call it. And it's going to establish you there deeper than you've ever been established there before. And that beingness that you can rest in, you can rest in that ever deeper and deeper to an infinite amount, because that infinity, by its nature being infinite, continuously reveals more subtleties, more and more subtleties, and that's something that just keeps unfolding. But the suffering aspect, the part where you're having trouble, where the identification is there and it's kind of creates a struggle in you, that can be completely dissolved, essentially by just continuously resting in your own beingness. That's already here. And that's what Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi refers to as silence. But you can call it whatever feels natural to you in your own experience. It could be awareness, beingness, presence. So it's good to just rest there whenever you can. So those of you who have been practicing self-inquiry, for example, you know that when you ask the question, the idea is that to disengage from thought as a way of finding yourself. It's a way of identifying yourself. So you're thinking about something. The presence, the feeling of presence is being contracted to some degree because of the thinking and the experience that you're having. So then you initiate the inquiry, which Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi would say is like the thief dressing in policeman's clothes to catch the thief, because in a way it's, you are using a thought, but then it's a good thought because it sends the other thoughts away. So then, if you've ever practiced any of these techniques, like self-inquiry, or even just meditation, resting in the presence, you know that it's going to send you back to your own presence, beingness. So one thing you could do is just continue to rest in that. Just once you've experienced that, anything that comes up, any concept, thought, idea, difficult experience, you'll always have the option to just rest as in your own beingness. Not so much that you're rejecting the experience or running away from the experience, but you immediately notice that if there's some sort of a contraction there or some sort of an identification there, then the presence that's wide open is available to be discovered further and more. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. Hope this is useful. So again, to sum up, because I find some people, they'll say, well, how would you sum all of this up? So this what we're talking about, this what we are, can never really be summed up in any way. But for the purpose of this video, to sum up, every teaching, every pointer to realization it exists to stop your mind and send it back to its source. Knowing that, you can then utilize that understanding to better take advantage or better use anything, any pointer that you come across. In fact, I will add, which I did mention before, anything which is not even a pointer can then become a pointer. You could see the sound of a door closing, that could point you back to yourself. You can hear a car starting outside your door or out on the street, that can point you back to yourself. You can see a bird flying through the sky, that can point you back to yourself. So everything is pointing you back to yourself, not only the teaching. This is the funniest thing, the most, you can actually relax and enjoy, because literally everything that arises is non-stop pointing you at yourself, because that's all there is. There's only the self. So you can relax. That's why I will keep saying relax. Other people might say get alert, be very alert. That's one way. But for some reason, I say relax. You can do whatever works. See, they're both there to break down your patterns. Relaxing, being alert, whatever is there to break out, the concept you might be holding on to. And if you're holding on to no concept and you're just resting, then it doesn't matter. And then finally, the final thing is, since all of this is simply to rest in your own nature, that's already here, and you're already free of those things that you're trying to break free from. Why not just rest in your own nature now, the presence that you already are, free from thought, free from any experience, yet always there with all of those things. Just resting as that, just being that, which is effortless, because you already are being that, and you can't be otherwise. So that's all. Thank you very much.